Hello, my name is Zhou. I'm currently an associate professor at Monmouth University in the United States. In this presentation, I'll be sharing my exploration in search of creativity through teaching and learning liberal arts in interactive design. This essay consists of two main sections. The first section presents the rationale, methodology, and practice of implementing a liberal arts approach to interactive design pedagogy in 1.5 decades. The second section showcases my two recent word-learning projects closely associated with this teaching practice. College students in recent decades have been shunning liberal arts, which was traditionally the main purpose of higher education, to teach deeper understanding, critical thinking, and writing. The decreasing number of undergraduates pursuing bachelor degrees in liberal arts has led to the weakening of liberal arts in undergraduate general education curriculum, as well as downsizing the liberal arts and humanities programs and departments. One recent study by American Enterprise Institute found that the number of undergraduates earning bachelor's degrees in liberal arts subjects such as philosophy, English, history fell by 4 to 25% between 2008 and 2016, although the total number of bachelor's degrees rose 31% during the same time. The article, How Colleges Are Adapting to the Decline in Liberal Arts Majors, published in 2018 in the PBS NewsHour, argued the necessity of soft skills that one learns from a liberal arts education to better understand the world, think creatively, express oneself more clearly, and consider the moral implications of actions. This article also pointed out that soft skills are indeed some of the hardest things that a faculty member will ever teach, which I will later elaborate. Pressured by enrollment decline, many liberal arts colleges were forced to change their marketing strategy and demonstrate the value of their programs. One way is to match liberal arts coursework with career-enhancing skills. For instance, the graphic design program at Monmouth University was established in late 1990s to meet the career demand. Within this program, web and interactive design is one of the fast-growing fields, driven by a tech-hungry economy, which I started teaching in the early 2000s. The history of web design goes back to the early 1990s, according to a short article published by PR Newswire in 2018. The rise and fall of web design software, frequent updates on web programming and frameworks, the evolution of social media, browser wars, device domination, and related social and ethical issues swiped through the past few decades. The pedagogical focus of web and interactive design is primarily based on visual, technological, problem-solving, and analytical skills to produce digital products. Thus, its project-based curriculum is driven by industry trends and user needs. Comparing many web and interactive design-related courses, most course projects are designated for practical and commercial purposes, such as product landing page, an existing app or website redesign, an app or website for a new brand, coding exercises, games, and portfolio websites. Here are some of my student projects without the liberal arts approach. In arts, to create means to produce something new. One of the quintessential characters of a creative person is originality, fostered by independent thinking and courage. As Sidney Harris said, the whole purpose of education is to turn mirrors into windows. The goal of liberal arts education is to give students intellectual power to think critically and broaden the perspectives. As academic prioritization promotes more job-oriented disciplines, it is a known practice to integrate liberal arts components into technological-focused courses to help bridge the gap. This approach serves a higher learning purpose, to prepare students for life, in addition to training marketable skills. In my 2 undergraduate courses on web and interactive design, students have the opportunity to practice the 5 major steps of design workflow. The liberal arts approach occurs in the first 2 steps, which establish the conceptual framework of each project. It offers 2 directions: the intellectual track, which I started in 2007, and the social awareness track in 2015. The first one points to the past, the second, the present. For the intellectual track, each student designs a biography website for a remarkable person selected from a list of names carefully chosen by the professor, myself, every semester. People on this diverse list have made significant contributions in history, and many are lesser known in popular cultures. I used various media aids to introduce the lives of those people and conducted classroom discussions on social and moral issues with my students before they made their choices. This project requires students to explore the historical background and life experiences of these extraordinary people. Through research and content creation, students edit and compose the biography of the selected individual. Through trial and error, this seemingly common project has challenged both my students and myself. As an artist and designer, leading intellectual discussions in the classroom required me to continuously broaden my reading list. Through this teaching practice, my intellectual growth was gradually noticeable over a long period. Therefore, I believe that the impact that I have made on my students through this project would take a much longer time to be recognized after they graduate. At this point, I would like to remind you of the statement in my previous slide, that soft skills are indeed some of the hardest things that a faculty member will ever teach. For the social awareness track, each student conducts research and exams on a contemporary social problem, then creates a website and/or mobile app prototype for this issue and related nonprofit organizations. This teaching practice was inspired by colleagues in the design education community. It encourages students to become social observers, problem solvers, and contemplate ongoing issues in the world, such as climate change, human rights, sustainability, education, poverty, and many more. Depending on the scope of the research, this project is often given in collaboration with other courses. In the second part of this presentation, I will be discussing my 2 interconnected projects completed during the COVID-19 lockdown in 2020. The 2 award-winning projects have close ties with my teaching practice presented in the first section. I firmly believe that teachers and students are both the educators and the educated. Not only this teaching practice helped my students to reach better learning outcomes, but also inspired me to continuously learn and search for knowledge, and create 2 research and interactive design projects, Zhou and Creedler. The 2 projects are now used as samples for my students. According to the United Nations, the growing global refugee crisis in the recent decade has reached a staggering height, and over half of this population are under the age of 18. The seed of the Creedler Project was sown in 2018 when I initiated the Zhou project. a research and web design initiative that sheds a light upon the forgotten stories of Jiang Jian and the Mother's Movement in China during the Second Sino-Japanese War between 1937 to 1945. Supported mainly by donations, the Mother's Movement rescued and educated 30,000 displaced children during the war. This inspired me to question and learn how European countries protected and rescued children in World War II, such as the large-scale evacuations of children in the United Kingdom and its women's voluntary service. Through user experience research, I discovered that no digital platforms have been established for displaced children, one of the most vulnerable groups who does not own mobile phones. Since then, the inception of Creedler began to sprout. I learned Jiang Jian's story in my childhood from my grandparents, who knew Jiang Jian personally. Little did I know that I would later spend 2 years engaging in the research necessary to design the Jiang Jian website that tells the forgotten story of this extraordinary woman. She was called the Chinese Nightingale, mother of wounded warriors and mother of refugee children. She passed away as a non-partisan at age 38 during the Second Sino-Japanese War. In 2018, after 3 months of exploration, including visiting Jiang Jian's former home in Hangzhou City in Zhejiang Province, Hejiang County in Sichuan Province, where Jiang Jian died in 1940, and participating the 80th anniversary celebration of the Chinese Wartime Refugee Children's Relief and Education Association, 中国战士儿童保育会. I realized that the information about Jiang Jian scattered in various media were not only extensive but often misleading. Without an accurate and complete story, it would be unethical to launch her website. Inspired by Jiang Jian's compassion and love, I undertook the challenge to research and write Jiang Jian's story in both Chinese and English. From that point on, I was both a designer and a biographer of this project, which led to unexpected adventures. After months of research and much help from family and friends, in 2019, I published Jiang Jian's biographical article written in Chinese in Creedler, the official magazine of the Chinese Wartime Refugee Children's Relief and Education Association. This biographical article and its English translation become the core content of the Jiang Jian website. Each language has its online edition. One of the web pages was dedicated to the Mother's Movement, a major achievement of the Chinese women's movement in the first half of the 20th century. This movement later motivated me to explore the growing global refugee crisis today and create the Creedler Project. Enlightened by Jiang Jian's story and the Mother's Movement, I questioned how European countries rescued and protected displaced children in World War II. Through studying countries such as the United Kingdom, some social patterns gradually unveiled, and the ideation of Creedler came to fruition in mid-2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic, when millions of displaced people struggle to survive. Not only do displaced children need opportunities to grow and receive education, but also have connections to the families, resources, and heritage. For this very reason, it is crucial to weave a tapestry of collective memories for displaced children by the guardians. After conducting user experience research, and no digital platforms has been built for displaced children, I believed that creating this project was a meaningful and feasible approach in search of new ways to help the most vulnerable population who does not own mobile devices. Next, I would like to share the introduction video that I've made for this project. The phenomenon of displaced people has existed since the dawn of human civilizations. In these calamities, children have been the first victims of conflict and displacement experiences. The growing global refugee crisis in the recent decade has reached a staggering height. In nearly 80 million displaced people, 26 million are registered refugees, and over half of them are under the age of 18. One of the major disadvantages for refugee children is the lack of education opportunities. And yet, as of today, no digital platforms have been built for displaced children. The Creedler Project was created in hope of developing not only a digital tool, but a vision for a global network that might help displaced children to overcome many adversities and receive more love and brighter futures. This project is dedicated to these unfortunate children, the most vulnerable group who does not have cell phones. Through research and studying the lives of displaced children today and in World War II, before the establishment of international organizations such as the United Nations, certain social patterns and similarities started to unveil. These findings shed light upon the target users, who are the guardians of displaced children. When user surveys and interviews cannot be carried out in the initial stage of the research, historical evidence and existing interviews of both current and past refugees provide direct insight into the user's needs and challenges. These discoveries laid the groundwork for the project. The final product embraces the connection and communication among the displaced children, their families and temporary guardians, education affiliations, international and regional organizations, as well as volunteers and donors. The stories and personal data of displaced children accumulated by adults are stored and protected by the Creedler Network database. This database becomes a collective digital memory. The focus of this project goes beyond the realm of digital product design, in an attempt to find a humanitarian solution for a complex social challenge. It offers a blueprint whose purpose is to serve as a possible testing ground, envisioning a digital network system that transcends political boundaries, so that various parties can connect to rescue and nurture young lives collectively on a global scale.